Hey, Juan here. Today, let's talk about the skills that you're going to need to be a product manager in 2024. So today I'm going to go through different type of skills, both hard skills and soft skills that you are going to make your work as a product person, as a product manager, much easier to cope with. So the first skill that you need to have is that you have to be user-centric. And this is not only about the user experience that your customers or your users have with your product in the end, but also understanding the problems, understanding the discovery part of creating a product. What is the problem that they have? What are the potential solutions? How can I work with my potential users to actually come up with a proper solution to solve the problems and needs that they have? That's what, for me, being user-centric is. And this means that you are working all the time with your users from the very beginning all the way to actually the end of the product, not only until the launch of the product. You want to have a communication with your customers that is constant, that it's something that is also scalable if your audience grows a lot, but you want to always be able to understand their insights, understand what problems they have. This is going to be key for you to be successful. The next one is that you have to have a strategic thinking. This is something that maybe not all the product managers pay that much attention to, but you had to be able to understand how what your work is relating to the goals and the strategies of the business of the company overall. So your company is going to have certain goals, and I don't mean necessarily goals of growth. I mean also goals of they want to start serving to a new customer type, they want to enter new countries. These are high level goals that you have to understand, that you have to be able to translate these goals into potential items in your roadmap that are going to benefit both the company but also your users. Pay attention to this. You cannot concentrate only in a way in the company goals or only in the user goals. You have to combine those. And once you start to combine those ones is when you are able to start building the roadmap that makes sense, that is not going to have only benefits and impact for the users, but also value and impact for your company or business. The next one is that you want to be or have an analytical thinking. You want to be able to understand data, to make decisions based on data or based on the available data. You're never going to have all the data that you want to make a decision. That's probably never going to happen because either you don't know how people outside your current user pool is going to behave. If you want to address a new market, you're probably going to have very limited data. And even if you have it for existing customers or existing users, there's probably going to be kind of holes in the data. There's always going to be something that you are not going to know. So you have to understand how much data you have or how can you use the data that you have to make decisions. And also remember that this is not try to, I don't remember the term right now, but basically you have to make sure that you don't go too far in your analysis. So you're not going to this analysis paralysis. I guess that's what I was looking for. You don't want analysis paralysis when you are doing analytical work or analytical thinking. You have to be able to detach yourself at some point, that you had to stop that research and you had to make decisions. Always, this is very important, something that you have to pay attention to. As part of being analytical, this is going to help you not only to understand behaviors, but it's also going to understand you to do things like market research. Who are my potential customers? Who are my customers? Where are they based? Which ones are the areas that are most important? Which industries I'm serving? Which demographics? It depends a lot on the type of products that you are building. One thing is going to be more important than the other, so I cannot tell you what is going to be more important in your case. But if you are analytical, you are going to be able to start understanding the relationship between the data and the behavior of the customers and the usage of the product, and potentially why certain things in the product are not working as you once were expecting them to work. Another very important skill, and something that pops up very often for product managers as a question, is that do you have to be technical? So having a technical acumen is actually something that is going to be very beneficial for you as a product manager, especially if you're working in a software company. If you're not working in a software company, tech products, being technical might or might not be beneficial. If you have technical background, there's a very huge benefit when you're working in software companies. And some people fail to understand this. You are going to be working with a team that is going to be basically 90% or 80% of the people in that team are going to be software engineers. And this is not criticizing software engineers, but software engineers have a way of thinking and a way of talking. And that's normal. It happens with everybody. It happens with salespeople, with marketing people, with product people. If you don't understand and relate to how they work, you're going to have a much tougher time being part of that team. Because don't get mistaken, you as a product person, as a product manager, even as a product designer, you are part of that development team. And most of that team is going to be developers. Is good if you have some kind of technical acumen in your background. The next skill that you want to have is kind of an ironical one because it's project management. And yes, I am the one that has been saying many times that product management is not project management, and it's not. But the reality is that to a certain degree, when you're building, let's say, a feature or even a product, or even planning a release, like a big release if you have those, because companies have those, whether we want to admit that they don't do or don't, they still have it even in software companies. But just think about iPhone. Okay, that's a tech company, but they have big launches. So those things happen. You have to be able to manage a project. You have to be able to understand what are the basics of project management, because it's going to be making your life much easier to actually plan the deployment, to plan how you're going to work, how you're going to organize your sprints, your Scrum board, or even your Kanban board if you are not that, maybe let's say, strict as sometimes Scrum might be. So project management is something that is going to help you understanding how to break down and slice down a big project into parts that are deliverables for your customers, that are going to be bringing value to your customers. Something that is going to be beneficial for you as a product manager. But remember, you're still not a project manager. And finally, on the hard skills, you want to have a skill that is risk management. You want to understand what are the problems, the potential problems that I'm going to have when I'm working on a certain feature. What are the potential pitfalls? This is very important and very linked also with the strategic thinking, although sometimes risk management might be thought more of as a part of a tactical point of view, but you could say that it's very related also to be strategic. The idea here is that you want to potentially see what are the potential pitfalls and what would you do to avoid those ones. That's also part of what being strategic is that you want to achieve a vision, a goal. And what are my potential problems to get there? What are the kind of the very difficult parts that I had to address so I'm able to really address them and actually successfully go over them, because that's part of what strategic intents are. And here what you want to do is that you want to be very understanding of those potential problems and be able to plan to address them as soon as possible. And in case that maybe we don't manage to do them, do we have a workaround? Do we have another way of doing it? And I'm not saying that you had to have a plan B and build this plan A roadmap and the plan B roadmap. I don't like that. But you had to be able to understand that if we are going forward and something has to fall, what is it, and what is the bandwidth that we have to potentially say no to certain features because we are going to have problems. Here, something like a Moscow framework can help you to plan this, because you could have the must-have features, they should have features, they could have features, and then they won't have features. If you structure your features that way, then you are able to say that, hey, these are the things that are complete must. They are completely unnegotiable. And there are other ones that are more nice to have, or things that could come in future releases. So then you have a margin there that if there's risk management, you can allow to potentially put more effort in solving the problem that you have and maybe reduce some of the scope in other parts. Again, I cannot tell you how to do it exactly because it depends a lot on the problems that you have and the risks that you have in your company. Sometimes there's going to be outside risks that are very, very, very hard to actually control, and those probably you are going to have very limited capability or very little room to actually maneuver. So anyways, you had to understand this and you had to plan how you are going to be able to follow. Again, Planning, super important. Now let's go through the soft skills. And I'm going to start with the most important one because, well, YouTube always says that you have to end always with the most important one because audience retention, but it doesn't make sense. Let's start with the most important thing first because this is not made for audience retention. This is made for you as an audience. And you should start with the most important thing. The most important thing for a product manager, in my point of view, is that you have to be curious and that you have to be able to learn continuously. And by continuously, I don't mean every day, and I don't mean that you have to grow your knowledge 1% every day. That doesn't work, in my opinion. But you have to be a curious person, that you have to be a person that likes to learn, that likes to potentially change the ways that they are working. Why this is important is because the way that we work nowadays is changing constantly. The way the world is changing all the time. One day is AI, one day is something else. In the previous years was crypto. A little earlier were microservices and cloud. Even before was web and web 2.0 back in the day. Anyways, there's new technologies, there's new potential things coming all the time. And you had to learn about them and you had to make sure that you detach yourself from the hype. There's a lot of hype whenever a new technology or a new idea or ways of working or ways of doing things like agile or whatnot comes. It's very easy to get dragged into the hype and the buzz and the cool things. And I'm not saying that they are not good. They are really, really good, all these technologies and all these principles, ways of working. The problem is that many people are going to do it in a cookie cutter manner. They are going to be very repetitive, very formulaic, and paying attention only to the kind of routines or the, let's say, traditions of certain types of, let's say, technologies or fundamentals or ways of working, and they're going to ignore the principles and the core. And it's very important that you understand things like principles and the core, and you stick to those more than to just routines or things that are like dailies. A daily on itself, it's just a tool. It's not a Scrum. And many times we confuse one thing with the other. AI as such is not a solution, it's just a tool. Don't confuse it for a tool. You don't need to adapt AI if you don't need it. You might not need it in some cases, and in some cases, something much more simpler like a recommendation system based on some ML, machine learning, might be enough. And sometimes you don't even need any kind of machine learning. So you don't have to do an overkill of everything has to be AI, because now during 2023, 2024, probably 2025, that's the thing that we're going to continue talking nonstop until we notice that, well, AI is not going to solve every single thing out there, and it's going to be very important, but many of the solutions that are being built with AI now probably are not going to be very successful in the future. Just my thought. The next one is going to be communication skills. You had to be able to communicate. You had to be able to explain what are the benefits of your vision. What is your vision? What are its benefits? Why does this matter? This is very important for you to be successful, for you to be able to bring your idea. I don't want to say sell your idea, but bring to your idea to others, and that the others really understand it and really potentially buying into your idea. And finally, from the soft skills, I think that negotiation and stakeholder management is some skill that you also had to do. Some of the skills that you had to do because in the end, you are going to be working with a lot of people in your team, both in your team and also outside your team. So you are never going to make every single decision. You are going to have to negotiate. Sometimes it's going to be negotiating resources. Sometimes it's going to be negotiating a roadmap. I might have an idea of what the best roadmap for the product is, but maybe somebody else has a different one. And then there has to be a negotiation. There has to be a discussion, an agreement, finding agreement. And this is very important, that you are able to find an agreement, even if it's not 100% what you wanted. This is something that is very important. And the same goes to stakeholder management. Your goals are not going to be the same goals as your support team has, or your customer success, your sales team, your marketing team, your development team. You have to be able to manage stakeholders and work with them and be able to have a working relationship that is not a constant fight. another custom file for resources, that never ends well. So try to learn how to do proper stakeholder management and negotiation with others. There's a ton of skills that could be valuable for you as a product manager. Things like leadership, things like financial acumen. The list can go on forever, but I just wanted to bring some of the most important ones. Because, okay, let's put it this way and be blunt about it. You are not going to have all these skills, but that's fine because nobody does. That's the reality. I don't have them and nobody has them. But one thing that you can do, in reality, this is like a sport. You might be really bad at tennis, but if you start playing tennis, well, you might get mediocre or even decent at playing tennis. That might be enough for, having some games and enjoying them. And the same goes for skills. You can learn skills, you can practice skills, because the more you expose yourself to negotiation or to managing stakeholders or to being more data driven, the more you are going to get, let's say, not say proficient necessarily, but you're going to get better at doing that. So skills to a certain degree can always be improved. So concentrate on identifying first which ones are the skills that you really tick them, that yes, I am really good at being data driven. You might be. That's awesome. Thumbs up. And then look at the ones that you are not that great and see how you can learn. Expose yourself. Maybe try to talk with customers if you are not very good at talking with customers and being user-centric. Or try to be better at negotiating and doing stakeholder management. Be able to really start having conversations, understanding, for example, what a salesperson needs and what would help them, not necessarily needs, but what would help them with their own job. This is something that is very basic for you to also be able to understand and be able to learn and to adapt and to grow in your career. So skills are very important, but don't worry if you don't have them. Try to see how you could improve them in the future. Try to see which ones are the ones that would be something that you could develop. So from your point of view, which ones are the skills that are more important for a product person, product manager, product owner, product designer? Let us know in the comments below. I had talked in the video about the difference between a project manager and a product manager. If you want to check a video about it, go take a look at this video here. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe to the channel. I make this type of videos every week. And if you want to get notifications, go and click the ring bell so you don't miss any of the uploads. I will see you in the next one. And remember, stay safe.